Good afternoon, everyone. Before Coach steps to the podium, just a couple announcements. One, we'll have an ASAP transcript of Coach, of his comments today. And then we had a Big Ten conference call this morning in regards to the Big Ten tournament. Still a lot of uncertainty, but be on the lookout for credential applications probably later this week, maybe early next week. Just because it's in Lucas Oil, credentials is still going to be very limited. Likely, it'll probably be limited to 5 media reporters per school. TV, photo, that is not in TV and photo is not included in that 5. Photo video will likely be shooting from 25 rows up from the floor, from their ADA section concourse area. So just want to give you a little bit of a heads up on that credentialing for the Big Ten tournament will be limited. So just a heads up on that. And we'll get to, if you have any questions regarding that, feel free to shoot me an email or give me a call in the coming days.
Good afternoon, Coach.
What's up, guys?
We'll go ahead and start with questions for Coach McCaffery. Raise your hand, please, and we'll get started. Questions for Coach McCaffery? Go ahead, Mike Kloss.
Brian, I'll give you a softball. Joe Weiskamp getting Player of the Week yesterday. Could you talk about what he's been doing, not just in the last week, but in the last, I don't know how many games?
Yeah, I'm really proud of Joe and how he continues to improve. I mean, he's been a terrific player from the day he showed up on campus, but he just keeps growing. You see it in his confidence, his physicality. I mean, he's just making big shot after big shot. His defense, I think, is really taking a huge step. He's making steals, and he's always been a phenomenal rebounder. And you don't always get that from your small forward position. And I've been playing him a lot at 2 guard. You know, with CJ out, he's still rebounding at a very high level. I'm playing him a lot of minutes. And he's in phenomenal physical condition. So, you know, anytime you got a guy who's playing like he's playing and he gets recognized for it, you know, it's a great feeling.
With how the defenses have been playing Garza, is it almost absolutely essential that Joe's been doing what he's been doing?
Yeah, I mean, especially without CJ, but then, you know, he needs help too. You know, we, for the most part, have gotten great productivity off the bench. You know, we had, I forget exactly which game it was where we didn't. Might have been, I think it was the Indiana game on the road. We didn't get as much. But normally, you know, we're getting offense off the bench because you no longer have, you know, Keegan Murray coming off the bench. He's in the starting lineup. He hits 2 threes to start the game. Connor, of course, played great in the Michigan State game, and that was big. But, you know, we're fortunate to have that kind of team where different people can come up huge on different nights. But, you know, Weiskamp's a guy that, you know, you sort of expect him to be at that all-conference level, and that's what he's doing.
Mark Emmert.
Yeah, Fred, I meant to ask you this the other night after the Michigan State game, but that was a game where you only had 5 turnovers again as a team. You've done it twice this year, both against Michigan State. Can you talk to how difficult that is, especially the pace you guys want to play out to do that, and how are you able to do that?
I really think it comes down to the players that we have. And you're right, we play fast, so that might increase your turnover numbers. We played a team on Saturday that's very physical, so sometimes that affects you. But I think to a man, we have a group that understands it. I don't look at our team and say, okay, we don't have any bad ball handlers. We don't have anybody who doesn't understand the game and what the game plan is. So we talk about ball movement and cutting and screening and getting people open and throwing the ball to open people. It's getting a group that understands that and understands that in particular, when you're playing really athletic teams, which pretty much everybody in our league is, live ball turnovers where you're driving into packs of people, turning it over, or, which is equally bad, taking a horrendous shot that leads to a long rebound, those turn into buckets for the other team. So understanding the value of the basketball is something that we stress, but I'm not going to take credit for it. I'm going to tell you that we have smart, talented guys that truly understand that and understand the impact that has on a team's ability to win.
Tom Kakert?
Fred, what do you see from Wisconsin so far this year? Really veteran club, a lot of guys back from last year.
Yeah, really talented group. Got a lot of different weapons, multiple three-point shooters. Like you said, veteran guys. So they're not a big mistake club, never have been. Always a low turnover group. Obviously, it starts with Trice as a veteran point guard. He's already in his fifth year. So it starts with him, but they're big guys. Are equally comfortable in the post or on the perimeter. They run what they run. They're a very good defensive team. So a team that you have to play really well to beat.
Josh Christensen?
Yeah, Coach. I don't necessarily want you to be able to speak for Luca, but 4 years, and you coached Devin for 4 years, and you got to know Roy in your time at Iowa.
Yeah, it was one of those records that you knew would eventually get broken, but it was going to be really hard. Especially now with people leaving early. But anytime you score over 2,000 points, that's an incredible accomplishment. And I coached against Roy, and of course, like you said, I got to know him, which was really special for me. But to watch Luca just keep grinding, we had it with Aaron White. He came close. But you're going to have to be an incredibly productive player for all 4 years to score over 2,000 points and stay on the floor. And I'm so proud of Luca. And as I said before, I just wish Roy was here to see it and be a part of it. Devin Marble was truly one of my favorite players I've ever coached. I've said that many times, and I mean it, because not only was he great, he was one of the smartest players I've ever had, and played multiple positions and just competed like his dad. And
Chad Leistko?
Hi, Fran. I've actually got 3 questions, so if I see other hands, I'll bail. But
okay.
With Iowa, Nebraska not scheduled yet, it seems like it would make sense mid next week or something. Are you surprised it hasn't been scheduled yet? Do you think it'll be in that window?
It's going to be rescheduled. There's been a lot of talk about it, but as we come down the stretch here, across the board, there could be other changes as well in terms of, okay, you're playing this day instead of that day. We're just going to have to roll with it. So, I think, you can look and say, well, it didn't make sense that you play here, and we might, but we also might not, but it'll happen.
Okay. And then I don't think we asked you about CJ after the game. He was pretty optimistic the previous game, that he was feeling better. Did he have a setback, or is it just again, that day-to-day deal that you're talking
Yeah,
about?
you know, he was terrific. You're right, Chad, against Rutgers. And he felt good. But he didn't feel so good the next day or the next day. So he was not ready to go. You know, I guess you're right. I mean, that's the definition of day to day. You know, boy, he felt great, and then he didn't feel great. Okay, well, then he's not going to play. We're not going to run him out there. It's just not fair. And I say this over and over, he's been really diligent with his rehab and treatment and being in the training room. And hopefully we'll get this thing figured out.
Okay, my last one, and then I'll get out of the way, is I guess, Jordan goes back to the Kohl Center this week. And how big, that shot 4 years ago, was that, I guess, a big moment for the program, a big moment for him in your mind to win in the Kohl Center like that?
Yeah, you know, I guess he looks at it that way. I didn't really look at it that way. But, the fact that he had two brothers play there, I suppose it was, probably grew up going to games up there, I'm guessing, right? That's probably what you're referring to. But in terms of how I looked at it and how I looked at him was, we're playing a really good team on the road, and just do what you do. That kid's a gamer. He's always been a gamer. We're down 2. We ran a play for Peter Jock, who led the league in scoring, and he missed it. Cordell rebounded, threw it to J-Bo, and he buried it. And then we went down and got a stop. So it was an awesome night for a young team. That was a very young team on our way to 19 wins, because we really didn't know what to expect from that team. J-Bo was a freshman, started at point. Tyler Cook was a freshman, and had some great moments in the league, that group. But, that was a big shot for a freshman, especially with his entire family there. So I understand what you're saying.
Hey, Fran, was wondering about the development of Chris Murray and also Josh Agundale. They seem really active on the bench, cheering their teammates on, but how have they developed in practice?
They both have been great. It's hard. We're playing 11, not 11 if somebody's out, but, we've kind of rotated 11 guys. But I feel comfortable with both of them. Chris is ahead of Josh. Josh will get there. Chris can really play. He's just behind some guys right now. With his brother and with Patrick and Jack and Luca, and Connor and Weiskamp. But it'll open up for him. He's gaining valuable experience in practice. He's different. There's a lot of the things his brother does, but he's different in a lot of ways too. But he's going to be a really good player here.
All right. Anything else for Coach today?
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone. We'll have Keegan Murray step in here in a second.
I have a quick question for you.
Tom, sorry, I was muted on that one.
That's okay, Steve. I was wondering what was going on.
I was coughing here and forgot to
No
be
worries.
paying attention.
No worries. I'm just mesmerized by Halas's background today.
He's killing it.
Something from your generation, Steve.
Oh, yeah. I can relate. Run home from school and watch the Brady Bunch.
All right, here we go.
Hey, Keegan, good afternoon.
Afternoon.
All right, we'll start with questions for Keegan Murray. Please raise your hand and we'll go ahead here. Anything for Keegan? Go ahead, Mark.
Sorry, I was typing. Keegan, I kind of want to get your thoughts on that big win at Michigan State. Obviously, that was your first time playing there, a pretty storied gym. What impressed you the most about what your team did, and how surprised were you to get a 30-point win there?
Yeah, no, I just think it was kind of a game where we all put everything together. Just so having been at Michigan State, where it's been a tough place to play for us in recent memory. I think we won like one game out of the last 22 there, but kind of just going through the game in the second half, we really just wanted to put up as many points as we could. Honestly, we just wanted to keep being aggressive, try to extend the lead as much as we could, and that ended up being 30 points. So it was a good win for us.
I wanted to ask you too, Keegan. Obviously, with CJ's situation, there's some uncertainty every game. I guess how are you handling that? Not knowing one game to the next if you're going to be starting or coming off the bench, and what your role is going to be exactly.
Yeah, just mentally I have to be there every game before, like during shoot around, because I don't know when he's going to come or play. But just in practice every day, just stay mentally strong before the games, during the games. But CJ, me and him have been supportive of each other no matter what the circumstance is, because he kind of took me under his wing when I first got here. So he's been like a brother to me, and we've just been really supportive of each other.
Chad?
Hey, Keegan, I realize this is your first actual run through the Big Ten, and there aren't fans on the road, but I guess just does winning at the Breslin Center, which, as you mentioned, is such a difficult place to win typically because they're always good, give you any confidence, I guess, going into another really historically difficult place to play on the Big Ten road?
Yeah, no, playing at Michigan State is really tough, no matter if there's fans or not. I think Wisconsin's equally the same way. The Kohl Center has a great atmosphere, just from what I've seen throughout the years. And I just think going against that veteran team, that'll be a big win for us if we're to pull it off.
John Bohannon?
Yeah, Keegan, how much do you like starting, and does it feel different than coming off the bench? Do you have to prepare differently, or is it pretty much the same?
I think mentally it's really the same preparation each game. I think starting, I've gotten more comfortable as I've continued to start a little bit more. And coming off the bench, it was pretty much the same thing. Just coming off the bench the first couple of times, you just got to get used to the feeling coming off or playing like around 10 minutes into the game. And I just feel like mentally you just have to be ready for anything.
Chad, go ahead.
I mean, I guess knowing you probably just get the 1 year here with Luca Garza, what are you trying to absorb from him in this time, and what have you learned from him, do you think?
Yeah, just the preparation that you have to go into in each game. In practice, he goes as hard as he can 100% of the time. He's a very good leader, and just taking the leadership aspect from him as much as I can, just absorbing that so I can become a leader eventually with future teams.
Any other questions for Keegan? All right. Thanks, Keegan, for joining us today. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys. Yep.
Microphone, Mike.
Afternoon, Jordan. Thanks for joining us. Questions for Jordan Bohannon? Go ahead, Chad Leistikow.
Hey, Jordan, how crazy is it that you've played more games against Iowa State than you have against Wisconsin in your career? Given you signed up to play in the Big Ten.
Yeah, it's something I probably didn't think it would be happening, but knowing I've been here for 5 years and played them 5 times now, it's kind of cool just knowing the rivalry that Iowa State has. So from that standpoint, it's pretty special. But Wisconsin, like always has a different feeling to the game. Knowing my brothers played there and pretty much growing up on that court and going to every single one of their home games and experiencing all the adventures that they did in their respective college careers. So that arena especially has a special part of me.
Do you get up for this game more? I mean, I know it's a cliche, but is this one where you kind of like Iowa State, where you circle it a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely a school that overlooked me and a place that I saw myself at. Obviously, I wanted to go to Iowa, and that was a school I dreamed of playing. This was a school I dreamed of playing at, but also Wisconsin was right there with, seeing myself being, wearing a Wisconsin jersey, my brothers played there. So that school is, like I said, it has always been a part of me. I have respect for that entire coaching staff and, everything that my brothers went through with Coach Ryan and Coach Gard and Coach Close just down the line. And from that whole staff it's mutual respect from our family to theirs and, help them out immensely to grow into the men that they are now that my brothers are. So there's definitely a different feeling to this game, and I'm always looking forward to going to the Kohl Center and kind of revisiting those experiences that I had as a little kid.
Don Doxey.
Yeah, Jordan, I want to ask you about Demetric Trice. I think I read somewhere that the two of you have played in more games than anybody else in college basketball right now. And you've had similar careers too. You're both fifth-year seniors who've battled injuries. Just talk a little bit about him and what kind of a matchup it is with you and he.
Yeah, I do want to make it known that he is older than me. So I'm not older than him. He's the elder statesman, not me. But, me and him go way back. We're pretty close friends. We've talked to each other on the phone before, text each other back and forth, and, been interacting on social media a bunch of times. So he's definitely someone that I've grown close to just because I played against him on the AU circuit, played against him, in college. And we've kind of experienced kind of the same pathway, I guess you could say, with him experiencing injuries and working through it and coming back for a year. And then myself going through injuries the last couple of years. So, we have a lot in common, and how he plays is, a lot of respect from myself because he plays the right way and really leads that Wisconsin team. And I know there's mutual respect from him as well.
Tom Kakert.
Jordan, I got kind of a twofold question for you. First, where does the three you hit as your freshman year, where does that rank on your kind of hit list? And how many games have you seen at the Kohl Center? Do you have any idea how many you've been to?
Well, to touch on your first part of the question, that shot is definitely, close to being number one. And my most proud moments, I guess you could say, at Iowa, just because the rich history that my family has with Wisconsin and, just all the experiences I had. And that kind of goes right into your second question, how many games I've watched. I can't even count, thinking about my brother Jason playing there. And from freshman to senior year, I don't think I missed maybe a handful of home games. I traveled to a lot of games too as well. So I was right there with, his experiences at Wisconsin and, seeing the Kohl Center have a full, when Jason was there, it was a sellout every game. And that was unreal to see from my point of view because Jason was the first one in our family to play college basketball, and to experience that at a whole nother level as a little kid is, something that definitely gave me an advantage on a lot of guys, getting to the big stage. So, it's kind of crazy thinking back at all the games I've watched at Kohl Center because it's, I've been here for 5 years at Iowa, but I was probably inching on the amount of games I experienced at the Kohl Center, that's for sure.
Chad Leistikow.
Hey, man, what can you tell me? Maybe you have to reach back in your memory bank here, but after your third grade year, you go to stay with your oldest brother up there for a summer camp, and I heard you tore it up there as the littlest kid on the court. What can you tell me about that?
That was a blast. I stayed with my brother in his apartment and just experienced obviously I was a really young kid, so I didn't experience the full force of college life, but I've experienced some part of it. And, that was really cool. That's a memory that I'll cherish for the rest of my life, because I was around all these guys that were my heroes to me, and all these guys that I grew up wanting to be when I'm older, and seeing them just on a personal level kind of, put them into a human being perspective, and just having a daily conversation with them, and them trying to get me to be a better basketball player. And I believe I ended up winning MVP of that entire camp as well. So that was really cool and special to, have this Iowa kid that the brothers on the team and just came out of nowhere and just, be MVP of the entire camp. And that was really cool. But, I experienced a lot of cool things being able to travel, and going to that camp is definitely top 5 of experiences I made, just because of that, all those role models that I saw on a personal level.
Any other questions for Jordan?
I'll just follow up and ask, this is your last trip to the Kohl Center, right?
Yes, it is. It is. It is. There's nothing. It would take a lot for me to come back for another year, and I don't think a schedule's released for next year to play at Kohl Center or not. But yeah, this is planning to be the last year playing at the Kohl Center.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead, Mike Loss.
You mentioned at the top of this interview that Wisconsin overlooked you, and you've said that before. Take us back. I mean, you had 2 brothers who played there. Their family reputation certainly had to be golden there. Why did not Wisconsin not make more of an effort for you?
Yeah, I mean, I remember Coach Ryan recruited me a little bit, and then there was a fallout. He ended up retiring, and I don't think there just really was mutual interest with the staff that was taking over, with myself, seeing being a point guard to go to Wisconsin. And I mean, it was kind of the same story with a lot of mid to high level programs in the entire country. They just thought I wasn't talented and skilled enough to play at this level. And I mean, there's a handful of coaches around, and Coach McCaffery was one of the few in the entire country that really had that confidence in me, that I knew I had that confidence in myself as well. And that mutual kind of energy that we both brought for my game to play here at Iowa was really appealing, obviously, because this is my dream school and I wanted to play here. And I kind of used that, that motivation from a lot of these schools overlooking me to really excel at this next level. And that was just something I fed off going forward.
So what would it have taken for you to have gone to Wisconsin instead of Iowa? I mean, when you say Iowa was your dream school and that Fran was, very much interested in you, was Wisconsin a reality?
Yeah, I mean, it would take about $20,000 in a McDonald's bag for me to go to Wisconsin. But no, it was mutual respect from the coaches from Wisconsin. I love Coach Ryan. I remember being in his office when Jason was getting recruited by him, and all the jokes he was telling and all the amazing stories he had of being a coach at Wisconsin. It was really cool to be at that first personal level with all these coaches, and Coach Moore, Coach Close, Coach Guard, all these guys that are I'm still really close with just because my brothers. And it just didn't work out, and I knew that if I wanted to, I mean, it was kind of early on in my recruiting process. I kind of figured I wasn't even going to be looked at by them anymore my senior year, and that was finally when I played well enough for Iowa to finally look at me and end up finally working out.
How many 3-pointers? I'm sorry, one more quickie. Do you know off the top of your head how many 3-pointers the 4 Bohannon brothers have made?
Well, Zach brought that percentage down, that's for sure.
All right, Don. Go ahead, Don.
Yeah, Jordan, you're 13 assists away from Jeff Horner's record, and Luca, I think, is 43 points away from Marble's record. Have you guys thought at all or talked at all about the possibility of doing it in the same game, maybe and conceivably even on the same play?
Yeah, that'd be really cool to, have both those records, be taken by our names in the same play. That'd be you can't really write a better story than that. But we haven't really talked about our personal accolades. It's always been about the team, and we know that as long as we're winning, that our personal accolades are going to come, after that. And I think that's what's been so special about Luca and myself, especially, and Joe Weiskamp as well. As records, break here or there as our careers go, it's always, the main focus is getting a win. And that's what's so special about this team. And I know that's a cliche answer for you, but I mean, it's the truth on, how our personalities are and how our, everyone's character is in that locker room. That's what makes it so much fun to, play with guys like Luca and him being the national player of the year. And, us being so close to these, big time records at Iowa. And at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter to us.
Josh Christensen.
Hey, Jordan, this sort of is on the same lines as Mike's question, but I guess as a kid growing up watching Jason play at the Kohl Center, did you even think in your head at that time, or can you recall any other time you think, boy, it would be really cool to play in this building?
Oh, for sure. I thought about that, every day. I wore Wisconsin jerseys to school. I had all these basketball cards of these Wisconsin basketball players, always on me, and people asking for my brother's autograph on these basketball cards that are close friends of mine. Like, it was always about Wisconsin when I was older, and obviously I was always in the back of my mind just because my dad playing there, and finally the future worked out. But it was always Wisconsin in my mind just because of how I grew up. I was a Wisconsin fan. I was other schools fan as well, but Wisconsin was the main school I was always looking at, always cheering on, always wanting to play at, just because like my brothers were there. And it's cool looking back because that kind of raised me into the competitor I am, and continue to have that chip on my shoulder of all these guys that overlooked me. So I think that's been the most cool thing of it all.
All right. Thanks, Jordan. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Our third and final player will be Luca Garza. Hey, Luca, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
We'll go ahead and get to questions for Luca Garza. Go ahead, Mike Kloss.
Look, I'm going to ask you to talk about somebody else. Joe was Big Ten Player of the Week this week, as you know.
Mhm.
What has he been doing over these last several games that, I mean, has he, in your mind, taken it up a level?
Oh, definitely. I think this whole season he's taken it up a level, and I think especially recently, just his ability to be consistent. Every game you're seeing his mentality be the same, and that's awesome in terms of his growth. And he's going out there and he's doing his thing and he's locked in. He's in the moment, and he's playing the basketball we all know he can, and we've seen that for years. And so I'm just really excited for him and what he's doing. But he's playing like one of the best players in the country. He's playing like an All-American. So I'm very, very proud of him, and it's going to continue. So I'm excited for that.
Josh Christensen.
Yeah, Luca, I know that your main focus is on something else and not necessarily personal accolades, but I do want to ask about what did you know about Roy Marble when you first came in? What have you learned in your time here about, his record and just when he played, whether it was through McCaffery, just in your own time of reading, of learning what kind of a player Roy was and just in his time as a Hawkeye?
I've just heard, a lot of stories. And obviously, I can see what he, did, stat wise. And, obviously I've seen videos and highlights and different things, just, how talented he was and just, how much he impacted, the University of Iowa often on the court. And obviously with his son too, and what he taught him, you could just tell, he was a guy who loved the game of basketball and appreciated every moment being a Hawkeye. And he was, a tough guy to guard. The guy could score the ball, with some of the best of them. So, I think it's awesome to just be able to be a part of history and kind of approach where he's at. And, obviously that wasn't ever a goal of mine. When I was walking into University of Iowa, I never said I wanted to get that record. I think just over time, I think things just took kind of care of itself, and obviously I'm in this position now. But it would be a tremendous honor to be able to be talked about in the same sentence as him. So it definitely is really cool when you think about that.
Steve, if I can ask a follow-up real quick. Luca, how important is it as a player to learn that history of when you're approaching maybe a record? How important is it to learn about that player, that history when that player played?
Yeah, for sure. I think, me, I'm a guy who loves the game of basketball. So wherever I'm at, I want to know the history of who played there and the history of the Big Ten. And so, I knew who, Roy Marble was, in high school when, I was first starting to be recruited by Iowa. Obviously I'd heard of him, but, I started to, learn more about, just the best players in this program over time. And so I think, I've always been a guy who's appreciated the legends of the game of basketball, and especially, in a place like this, a university that I love. I want to know who was the best and how they did it. And so that's something that I was curious to know more about him and AC Earl and some of the other guys. When you mentioned this program, you talk about those guys. So Don Nelson, whoever it may be. So it's as a kind of a basketball nerd myself, it's really cool to be talked about in the same sentence as some of these guys.
Mark Emmert.
Yeah, Luca, two-part question. I guess your string of consecutive games in double digits got snapped, obviously, at Michigan State. How important was that to you? Were you upset by that? And then secondly, what was it like to sit there and watch your team basically destroy them, even though you didn't have your best game?
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, it wasn't really important to me. I didn't really know that was that long. I knew, I think I knew, San Diego State was the game because I remember that game from last year. But, honestly, it wasn't really important to me. It was more important that we won the game. And, obviously you want to play well in every game that you play in. And I think in the first half, I did some really good things in terms of, picking my spots, being able to move the ball. They were aggressively, double team me and triple team me as per usual, for me in the Big Ten, but especially after coming off a game like I had against them at home, I think they made a real focus to kind of try to, kind of shut me out. And so I moved the ball as much as I could and try to get other guys involved. And, Connor McCaffery was, tremendous, stepping up and knocking down, some 3-point shots. And, when I catch the ball in a double team, they send a guy off Connor. I tell him every time that he's got to shoot that with confidence because I know how good of a shooter he is. So it was nice to see, him be able to step up there and make a lot of threes. And obviously Weezy was tremendous and we were just killing him from the outside. I think, they really had a game plan to stop me from the inside, especially early. And, I only took 3 shots in the first half and they did a good job on that. But I just went out there to win. And that was, my main focus. So, I think in the second half, I missed a couple shots that I, usually could have made. Some rimmed out on me. Obviously I wasn't making my free throws either. But, for me, I've said this before, but I didn't come back, to score points. Obviously I do score points, but I didn't come back to do that. I came back to win games. So I think when I look back at my career, being able to beat Michigan State by 30 in their place is something I'm going to remember over, having 26 points against whoever. That is a memory that I'm going to remember because, it was a lot of fun just to be out there and play so together and be connected and beat a team like that on their home floor. I was there my sophomore year when we were down 27 to them, and I don't remember if I had a good game or I had a bad game, you remember losing by that much. So I think it's just awesome to be able to experience a team win like that. But it's just a game of basketball. You're not always gonna make shots. It's just how it is. So for me, it was a lot of fun to play there and to win there. So more than anything, I was just happy for my teammates and all of us who just got to experience being able to walk out of there with the building, which as everybody knows, not many teams do. And then for us to have the biggest win there in the Izzo era is something I'm gonna remember for the rest of my life.
Chad Leistko.
And you swept him. I know you're a basketball junkie and you know the standings of the Big Ten. I mean, how important is this game to getting a top 4 seed? I mean, you understand that the tiebreakers here are very significant in where you guys sit in the conference. So how big a game is this for you guys?
Oh, it's a huge game. I think, honestly, every game we've had in this Big Ten is huge, you in terms of separation, in terms of beating other teams, because there's so many good teams in the league, that every team, is kind of close. Obviously Michigan's, in the lead right now, but when you look at, second place, that's 3 losses and then 4 losses, and we're at 5 losses. There are a lot of teams that are really kind of in this area. So it's competitive, and we're really excited for the opportunity to go out there and play, one of the best teams in the country in Wisconsin. And we all know what Wisconsin is capable of, and obviously they won the Big Ten last year. They have the same guys back, and they have a lot of experience. They're a really, really good team. So we know that this game is the most important game in our schedule, and that's how the next game always is for us. So we're excited for this opportunity to go against a great team.
All right, and our final question comes from Mark Emmert. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, Luca, kind of following those lines, I'm sure you saw that the first brackets came out. You were a 4 seed. Are you kind of paying attention to those things yet, and kind of trying to figure out how you guys can climb in the seedings?
Yeah, obviously. I mean, I think you definitely want to pay attention to that, because you want to put yourself in a position where you're a top seed. And so we know we're grinding and working to put ourselves in the best position as possible, for that, because we know, obviously you want to have the higher seeds, in terms of just who you play first round and who you play second round. It's tough when you go like our sophomore year when we beat a very good Cincinnati team, and then we have Tennessee the next game. You want to put yourself in a position where you can play against really good teams, but wait to play the best teams. So when it's in the Sweet 16 or Elite 8 or whatever the case may be. So we obviously understand how important that is, and for us, we're just focusing on it, just improving every day and winning as many games as we can in the Big Ten. And we know, the rest of that stuff is going to take care of itself. But, it's definitely exciting to be, considered a 4 seed right now. And we think, there's a lot of room for us to grow and catch other teams in terms of rising up on those standings.
All right. Thanks, Luca. Thanks, everyone.